Our next speaker calls himself a consciousness reprogrammer. After 2 near-death experiences, he discovered he had an ability to heal, and he's used that ability to work with people around the world. Please welcome Masati.
Hi, Masati, founder of Exponential Intelligence, one of the fastest ways to transform your life, hands down. I'm so excited to talk about consciousness and DNA and how it can help you in all aspects of your life, including heart health and every other health issues that you might have. So let me just start out. I'm going to be talking about, and I've only got 35 minutes, and we're going to go deep. What we're going to talk about is first of all, definition of consciousness and DNA, because there's so many, different definitions out there. We all want to be on the same page. So we'll talk about that. 2, how it can affect you health-wise, and then 3, the possibilities for you. So the definition of consciousness and DNA. And as I tap into the group, by the way, I know a lot of you are new, so let me give you a little history on who I am. My name is Masati, like I said, and through the years, over the decade that I've studied over 100,000 individuals one-on-one. So that's a lot of case studies, not in group settings, but one-on-one, working on them individually. I've learned about, say, transformations from a very deep level. Okay, and I call that, say, a consciousness level or a timeless level. And that's what I want to talk about, the science there, because the changes that I've gotten over the decade has been fantastically amazing. Off the charts amazing. And I know it really pushes the concepts of what science, knows about, say, DNA or epigenetics or, health and transformation. And by the way, this isn't just about health, but we're here at the Get Well Show, so we're going to focus it in on health. But all aspects of your life, say, can transform and has for hundreds of thousands and counting. So where did I get this knowledge? Where did I get this intelligence? Well, we are built in. This knowledge is built in. But unfortunately, most of us, through our hereditary patterns and, say, the de-evolution or of our DNA, we start to have a lot of padding or have a lot of filters that don't allow us to be, say, our brilliant self or our best possible self. Hence, we get into situations and diseases or any form of lack. So I've had 2 near-death experiences, and it's allowed me to, say, transcend this physical form. Literally extend my consciousness. And that's a mistake right there. So let me just back up. It's not that my consciousness extends. Right? And most people think that, your consciousness rises. But in fact, and we'll talk about the logistics of consciousness, but in fact, your identity or the sense of who you are, right, rises into higher levels of consciousness. So that's key. So through the first near death, it allowed me to be aware of, say, all the possibilities that we could be. Okay, and all of this you can find out on my website, masati.com, or if you take a look at the podcast, Exponential Intelligence, starting with an X instead of an E, you'll get to know the science behind it all. So backing up, the first near death allowed me to understand the possibilities or what consciousness is about. The second near-death experience allowed me to, really understand how to reprogram the consciousness and your DNA to get fantastic results. So some of the fantastic results that I talk about is, people cure themselves. And the key word is they cure themselves. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health professional. I'm none of those in any way. So whatever I say, do your own. Well, there's not a lot of research out there because it's way ahead of what science is out. It's way ahead of what science is about right now. However, if it feels right to you, again, do some of the research on like quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and we start to understand what this field is about. So the second near death allowed me to start to rewire you from a very different level. And, the first few years that I was doing this, I didn't know what I was doing, but people were getting very, very like astounding results, transformations. And, towards the years, close to a decade now, I've had, the wonderful experience of, understanding and downloading information. So using the consciousness or using the intelligence within that consciousness to, again, heal fantastically. People recover of stage 4 cancers, or they recover of, severe limitations, or, they start looking more younger, more youthful. They start looking more vibrant. And these are just physical issues, but, their health gets better, their relationships get better, their money situations get better. So it's all aspects, and that's where you want to be. And that's what I want to talk about, say, levels of consciousness. So let me explain where we are now. And if you have any questions, again, you can always write them into customers@massajati.com. That's customers@massajati.com. So let's define what consciousness is, and then we'll define what DNA is. Okay. So, because there's so many different, say, definitions of consciousness that, we really don't figure out or understand, and we need, a constant to define or get benefit from this lecture. By the way, as you take a deep breath in, just my frequencies or how I edit your frequencies, you listening to this talk might feel very, very different. So some of you will feel really fantastic. Some of you not so fantastic as you start to let go of, those things that aren't beneficial for you. So just be mindful of that. So it's not just like a logical or cognitive, say, talk where I give you some stuff and then you go home and think about it. It's not about that. Okay? And that's how powerful this method that I'm talking about, exponential, is about. It literally changes you at a much, much higher level. So again, let's take a deep breath in. So let's define consciousness. Most individuals start to think, or science starts to think, that when we talk about consciousness, you become aware of something, and then, or, you get connected to something, and then, you're conscious, or you're aware, or you're mindful. And that's somewhat true, but not really, not at all. So if you think about consciousness as, say, different layers of reality, okay, or different realities, or different universes, however you want to see it. And with each consciousness, you can either go into many different directions. So consciousness just isn't, say, a positive thing. It's the world that we live in. The world that we live in dictates that we operate in a certain, say, consciousness, or in a certain pattern. Okay? So if you look at throughout history, we've evolved quite a bit as far as technology, and I'll talk about that as well. But our consciousness hasn't raised. That's why we still have the issues, although we can do things a lot faster. We can kill people a lot faster. We can communicate a lot faster. We can do all those things a lot faster. But why are we still the same? Why are we still, aging? Why are we getting ill like our parents did? Why are we still having, they say, the same political or, financial or, religious type issues? Because we're stuck in a consciousness or in a box. So just to give you an example, so you're in a room, okay? You're in a room, and imagine you're in a high rise, okay? You imagine that you're in a high rise. The first floor, let's call it 0 level. So we'll put numbers so we can clearly understand it. The first floor is, where we are. The base floor, 0, okay? Floor 0. Floor 0 is more of a reptilian or, control mechanism or safety mechanism or, things of lack. Okay? So this consciousness dictates that we operate from lack, and then we need control to, say, have a fantastic life. Okay? So that's the basis of this level 0 consciousness. So no matter how wealthy you get, no matter how beneficial you get at a physical level, it's the same outcome. You need more and more control to, say, dictate your life. Unfortunately, as you increase control, you start to find that you have no control. Okay, so just remember that, but just think about it. And I know many of you have certain definitions, and if it doesn't resonate with you compared to what you believe in, although it might be very different, you might say poo-poo this or go, well, that's not true because my understanding is X. So if you want to evolve, you have to see things from a very different level, right? So allow your, say, judgment or allow your definition of consciousness to remove itself, and then open your identity or open your, say, frequencies up or your logic up to a higher level or to a different level of consciousness, and you'll get beneficial. The good thing about this all is that whether you do that or not, the consciousness that I exist in supersedes the consciousness that you're at. And I'm not saying it from an ego state. It just is. It's very different. So if your, say, logic about consciousness and DNA, if you're still ill, if you're still in any lack, or if you need control or lack of control, whichever way, then your definition of consciousness and DNA is off. Simple as that. Okay. We want the bottom line effects. The bottom line is what I'm interested in. So, and I'm sure you are too, because you want transformations, not about a belief system, right? That doesn't work for you. And I say that because, well, a lot of you, as I scan the group, although this might be recorded, I can still tap into you, and you hold on to an identity that really sets you back. Okay? Although it's different than the masses, which is really fantastic, but let's even improve that even more. So let's go back to my example. So you have a high rise, you have the first floor, level 0, okay, or level 1, doesn't matter. So at this consciousness, again, everything is dictated by control and lack. So if you look at today's world, everything is dictated by control and lack. Okay? Intelligence, money, wealth, abundance, everything is controlled by control and lack, no matter how you look at it. So if you start to create, say, technology, excuse me, if you start to create technology, and I'm giving you a clear example so we understand what the problem is. Say you start to create a clear technology about, or a higher level technology. And maybe I could just draw this out for you real quick. So, we've got this beautiful glass board. So you have layers of consciousness, okay? Sorry about the noise. So you're at level 1. Okay. So again, this is about control and lack. So say Tesla or Elon Musk or any of those great inventors that created, say, social media, for example, or anything else that's out there, the electric car, the hydrogen bomb, the internet, whatever it is, good or bad, right? Most likely developed it or got that consciousness from a higher level. And this is where the problem comes. So what happens is that, say, like, for example, Tesla. Everybody knows what Tesla is. Nikola Tesla, unbelievable man. He's at a level 1 consciousness. He exists here. He goes to, say, a level 5 consciousness. That's where his ideas are. Level 5 consciousness, he brings his ideas back down into a level 1 consciousness. So although the level 5 consciousness, if humans existed in a level 5 consciousness and you used this idea or this invention at that level, you would have no issues for control, or you would have no issues of control, lack, abuse, or any of that pattern. Okay? And Einstein said it, Niels Bohr said it, Tesla said it, that some of these inventions that I've invented are too dangerous for humans. This is why this is what he was talking about. Okay. He's brought this consciousness down to this level. At this level is very destructive, even if it's the most, say, blessed invention ever, like healing people. So again, this is why, no matter what it is, the most blessed invention that you could ever think of, if it's in the wrong, say, consciousness, you bring it down to another level consciousness, it destroys. Okay. And it's not because it's destructive that it destroys. It's because at this level, consciousness, say it's really pure. Say it's the most blessed experience ever. Okay. Say like, I don't know, many of you are, say, spiritual or religious. Say a Jesus frequency. Okay. Outside the religion. Okay. I don't want to get into religion, but just the science of the man. Obviously, he's way past the level 5 consciousness. His abilities or his presence here comes down into a level 1 consciousness. Again, very brilliant. It's so brilliant that it burns off any distortions of a level 1 consciousness. So you would feel terrible as, well, you start to burn off all the garbage that exists in the level 1 to bring this level 1 consciousness into a level 5. Okay. So just to reiterate, and then we'll go into the definition of consciousness and the way I see consciousness and DNA and how it affects you as far as like heart issues or, diabetes or anything else. Okay. So one, that we're operating from a level 1 consciousness. There has to be disease. This has to be shortcomings. There has to be whatever it is that you create here or exist in here, no matter where it comes from, whatever it is. Well, this dictates that it's about control and shortage or control and lack. Okay. So, and that's why, again, like I said, technologies, health improvements, and foods, that are beneficial for you. Because many of you that I see that, you're eating the most perfect food, the perfect diet, and then what the hell happens? Right? You're still sick, right? You still age, right? So that's consciousness. We'll get into the DNA. So I just want to reiterate consciousness, a definition of consciousness, just so we understand ourselves. The definition of consciousness is an operating system. Okay? So in this level, first floor of this building, think of that. Everything is blue. And again, the color doesn't matter. I'm just giving you an example, right? Everything is blue, and the Lego blocks, you can make anything, and the Lego blocks, you can make anything that you need to, but since everything is blue, the outcome is going to be blue for you. Okay? You can make a blue Lamborghini. You can make, say, a blue Jesus frequency. You can make blue money. No matter what you make, right? You can eat, say, the healthiest of foods, but the end result is that the end result is blue, no matter what it is. Okay? So very, very simple. So what is consciousness from exponential intelligence? Exponential intelligence is a body of knowledge that I've labeled. I didn't design it. I didn't create it. Other people have discovered it, but I've put it into, say, a nice book. Well, I'm writing a book, but a nice documentation on, say, how to use it properly and how to, ascend to higher levels where you can exist. One thing about Tesla that I just want to compare is that, again, a very highly intelligent, fantastic man, but he would go to a level 5 consciousness. He couldn't exist there for some reason. Okay. And I'll tell you why in just a bit. He'll come back down, create inventions here. But over time, as he got older, you notice that he deteriorated quite a bit. Many people do like that. Many people go crazy, fantastic abilities, fantastic, say, architects or musicians and so on. And then, they're gone. Boom. Just like that. The reason why is, say, the consciousness doesn't fit. It starts to distort them as they exist here. Okay. So, what you want to do, and this is what we're going to be talking about in just a bit, what you want to do is you want to keep elevating yourself. So you live in this consciousness in, say, the same physical form, and then you want to elevate to the next consciousness, and then the next consciousness, and then the next consciousness, and on and on and on. So you see this reality that exists. You see this world that exists today from higher and higher levels of consciousness. You don't go up and then come back. You don't go up and then come back down. Many people do. Again, great inventors, great entertainers, great whatever, and not so great, right? They live at, say, lower levels of consciousness. Simple as that. This is not the base floor, by the way. This is just, say, the standard that we live in. Obviously, there's people that are much deeper, more distorted. So consciousness in exponential's intelligence definition is an operating system. That's all it is. Okay. For example, you have a Mac, or like an iPhone or an Android. That operating system dictates that the programs running on that has to conform to the operating system. Okay, that's the key. You do not create the consciousness that you exist in. That's another a misnomer. You do not create the consciousness that you exist in. The consciousness creates you. Okay? So let me give you an example on, say, a telephone. So you have your smartphone. It's an Android or an iPhone. It dictates the type of applications that run and how they run on that operating system. Just like that blue room, it dictates what you can create. But the outcome, like I said, is the same. So the same thing with this operating system. The outcome is the same. So you are an app on this phone or on this consciousness, right? Your name, just blank. Put in Julie, Eddie, I don't know, whatever, whoever you are, put your name in. You are an app running, say, again, multiple patterns, right? According to your DNA, we'll just talking about in just a minute. So you operate off this operating system that dictates how you run. Now, there are tons of different scenarios from this consciousness. There's fantastic scenarios in this consciousness, and there's not so fantastic scenarios from this consciousness. Okay. How did you develop yours? How did you, say, start to run, say, certain apps that create you? Okay. I call that your frequency signature. So we'll get into DNA. So again, consciousness, one, does not, you do not create consciousness. The consciousness creates you. It's the energy source that you plug into to render your body that you call X, and just fill your name out. Okay. So I think we've got a strong definition on consciousness. Let's take a deep breath in. So let's move on to DNA. What is DNA and how can you transform? Okay. So like I said, the consciousness dictates on how you run, or your operating system. You are an application. Actually, you are a myriad of applications. Okay. A myriad of applications that create you. Okay. Just like there's tons of different systems on your phone. There's tons of different systems on your car, right? There's tons of different systems that generate you. That would be your DNA. Now, most people think that your DNA is hard-coded, but a lot of science nowadays, which Exponential agrees with, is DNA is very dynamic. It's very fluid. It always is taking in, say, perceptions of its reality and always conforming to it, whether you're conscious of it or not. Okay, just like your autonomic nervous system, you're not conscious of it, but it dictates your heart rate, your breathing patterns, everything in between, right? So you can survive here. You have another autonomic nervous system that dictates how you render or you create your reality here, right? Or how you view yourself here. And remember, like I said, if you're in a certain level of consciousness, you can build anything that you need to, good to bad, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter, light or dark, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. How do you get that? Well, your DNA is a blueprint. It's a dynamic blueprint. It's not hard-coded, from what I've found out. Now, this goes way beyond what scientific studies do. And this goes into, say, the science or the thoughts of epigenetics. Okay. Now, epigenetics is simply that, they go into a certain DNA, they splice the DNA, chemically or, through certain frequencies or lasers or whatever, and then it produces an outcome. And it's very rudimentary. Well, with my abilities, and it's not just my abilities, although I teach people to shift and help you shift your DNA structure. And I know that's a far out claim, but from the results that I get, where people actually change, say, their physical identity, their facial features, their body features, again, they don't look like their parents. So the only way you can change somebody like that is restructuring or rewiring, redefining their DNA. So that's why I say that. So your DNA is a dynamic blueprint. It's a timeless blueprint. Okay. So, and this might get a little spiritual, but it's really not. It's actually just straight science, but some of you might feel it as spiritual, or I'll label it so we understand it. Okay. So your spirit, or your timeless self, as I call it, or your pure presence, right, as I call it, renders, say, frequencies. Okay. And those frequencies are very, very tiny, but over time, they create density. Okay. And as they create density, they create form and shape and function. Hence, your body structure. Say the color yellow, it's a certain frequency of light that you see. The yellow, you change your frequency, you change the color of the light. Simple as that. Sounds, objects, you're just millions of different frequencies packaged together, and you call it you. So your DNA, okay? And again, I don't have a lot of time, but your DNA over generations have evolved, so to speak. And I hate to use the word evolved because humans don't really evolve, right? And we don't get better over time. Okay, we just continue the same pattern over time. Again, we don't rise consciousness. So over time, our DNA just starts to learn. Okay? And then when we grow, for example, your mom and dad, right? They had you looked at your environment. Your environment was very similar to your blueprint, right? Your DNA. And then you go, well, that must be true because my environment resonates with the DNA. Your parents aren't awakened enough to go, hey, you know what? We messed up. We're running heart patterns issues. Don't run our heart patterns. We don't do that. Our parents go, well, this is the way it is. This is the way I lived. This is the way you're going to live, pretty much. So you over time, you have kids, and then you go, well, shit, this is the way it is, and you can't escape. Okay? Now, there's a whole study that I can talk about, but not in this session. Some other time on that. If you're interested, I think I've done a podcast on that, on, say, evolution or child evolution. So your DNA over time, and just think how many generations back it goes. Okay, your DNA over time, same heart issues, same, relationship issues, same abuse patterns, same success patterns, same whatever, over time. Your DNA didn't evolve into a higher realm. Now, just to compare, right, you think I'm far out there and, nobody's like going to different consciousness. That's not true. Nature always stays with the top level consciousness. If you look at, say, animals, for example, say you introduced, say, heart disease in the lion family, the lion species, in about 1 or 2 generations, if that, in a very short time, that heart issue would disappear. Because as time transcends, as the world evolves, as universal time, say, transcends and goes higher and higher, again, evolving to higher and higher consciousness, that's where we're at, by the way, you start to, everything else keeps up. Okay? But we are, say, aware of time and space. That's the key with us. We are disconnected from time and space. So we have our own standards on when we evolve. It gives us a fantastic opportunity to go transcend beyond nature, but we have to learn. Hey, some of you are wondering, well, why is that? Well, and I'm giving you the reason why, because it allows us to pull away from time and space to transcend time and space. But we have to understand how nature does it first. So exponential intelligence is about getting into the patterns of how nature does it. So with exponential intelligence, what happens is that you start to define yourself from, say, a different, say, blueprint. Your DNA starts to change. How do you do that? Well, you start to become aware of all the patterns, okay, in your genome, that aren't you, that isn't you, that is your mom or your dad or your grandma's or your uncle or whoever it might be. You start to disconnect from those. And just to tell you, stories time and time again, people have changed so much. They start to become aware. They move away from the blueprint that's created them or their DNA that's created them. And they start to realize like, shit, it's like, this left side of my face, that's not me. It's my aunt. It's my Aunt May. If you look like, say, somebody, chances are you have their relationship patterns, you have their health issues, you have all that stuff. So no matter what you do, you will, say, end up with the same ingredients of life or the same, say, taste of life as your Aunt May in this example. So exponential intelligence, what I do for people, and you'll start to become aware of it, you start to pull away from this level of consciousness. Okay? You start to pull away from this, say, level 1 consciousness, and it forces you to go up to, say, the next level or higher. Okay? As you go to the higher levels, you start to look down at the patterns, right, or frequencies that create your DNA, then that creates you, because everything needs a blueprint. Okay? Your DNA, like I said, is very dynamic. It's very fluid. It understands or it learns from its surroundings. So over time, for example, and I'll give you an extreme study, those children that have been lost in the woods. By the way, animals don't do this, right? Just humans do. That's how, say, editable we are. Right? That's how I can help you transform. That's how I can help you awaken to your own, say, brilliance and redesign or rewire your life the way you need to, so you don't have to age and you don't have to get sick and all that stuff that humans do. Okay, so the extreme example that I want is children who get lost in the woods. And you've seen, the wolf children, they've been raised by wolves. And if you start to study those individuals, which I have, and there's quite a few, unfortunately, for some reason they got lost in the jungle or the woods, and they come back out or they find them. And what have they done? Right? They start walking like wolves. They start, their body, their genetic makeup changes like wolves because that's their surrounding. That's, it's not a conscious level. It's like, hey, I'm going to be like a wolf. Nope. Their body, their physical essence, their structure over time starts to shift, and it creates more of a wolf-like human. Or, pigs or whoever raises them. Not necessarily pigs, but there's wolves and, I don't know, some other animals that have raised kids. So again, very dynamic, very fluid. It's not static. Okay. The brilliance about that is that once you start to become aware that it's not static, and once you become aware that it's not the level, it's not what you're doing. Okay. So what we do is, just to give you a simple example, say that you have a wave generator. Okay. And I'll just make it real quick here. Say that you have a wave generator. Okay. And this is you. This is you, and it generates waves, and it just keeps going up. Just like if you put, a rock or a pebble in water, right? It creates waves and it goes through. Okay. This is what psychology and everything else, does for you. Psychology, eating healthy, taking medications, surgeries, and all those things that you've tried to get healthy, whether it's heart issues or anything like that. Okay. Say that you have a stone or, a rock, a boulder that's here. That's your heart issues. Okay. So you're experiencing yourself from an outside perspective. You don't understand that you're generating the waves that's causing your reality. You're just saying, oh, heart issues. So from now on, say this wave, starts to say get distorted. I don't know how it would look like, probably more like this. Right. And then over time, it gets distorted more and more and more. So, and by the way, these waves basically rendered this different levels of consciousness. Okay. So most individuals are waves way out here because they have so many filters. Just imagine how many generations back in your family that goes back that you came from, and nobody was awakened. So by the time it got to your version of DNA, No virus cleanup. No, hey, let's get the garbage out. You're just the latest, say, version of when you were born of that DNA, right? So you're way over here. Your purest wave would be right here again, or the highest level consciousness that you can exist in, right? But again, you're way over here. And how many, say, rocks do we have, or how many, say, things that get in the way? And what you're doing is like, oh, I'm seeing this heart disease here. I'm seeing diabetes here. I'm seeing whatever here, lack of relationship, whatever it might be. I'm going to take a medication, or I'm going to have surgery. But what happens? You didn't remove this stone. You're still existing in this reality, just like you are here, right? And it still distorts you. So what you want to do is you start to move yourself. And this is how XI, or what I do, helps you awaken, and it's really fantastic. By the way, you don't have to be next to me. You can do it online, or over the phone, or over Zoom. But what you want to do is you start to look at yourself from a higher level. You start to look at yourself here, a consciousness beyond, say, heart issues. And you go, oh shit, this heart issue came from Uncle so-and-so. It's not my heart issues. You start to, say, distinguish what's you and what's not you. And as you start to move away, you start to go to higher and higher levels of consciousness. So you see this reality from, say, this consciousness, void of, so the lack and control and the diseases and all those things that you want to move away from. So XI, exponential intelligence, allows you to, say, transform yourself from your DNA level, or your base level, or if you want to call it your blueprint level. Some people might call it their spirit level. But again, it changes your aspect of how you render yourself. And I know it sounds crazy, because you think it's like an outside. You think it's your thoughts. It's not your thoughts. How do you think your thoughts came about? Okay. Why do you believe in what you do? You might go, well, I studied this, I went this. No, you don't. Over 90% of what you are, or who you think you are, even if you're awakened and you go, I don't want to be like my mom and dad, the bottom line result is most likely you're like your mom and dad. Okay. And as we end, because I know I'm running over time, just give you a brief example, right? Your mom and dad, very wealthy or not so wealthy. You go, I want to be the exact opposite. Or your mom and dad, religious or not so religious. I want to do the exact same opposite, because I want to move away, because I'm awakened, and because like many of you are, and this is why I'm giving you this example. It didn't work for them. Or you look at society and you go, shit, they're messed up. I'm going to be different. So you do the opposite of society, or you do the opposite of your mom and dad. In this case, they're not so wealthy. You become really wealthy. But if you're always referencing yourself, right, from your mom's or dad's point of view, right, that DNA still exists in you, because you're referencing yourself. You're way out down here. You're going, so what you're doing is, like, wealth, for example, pushes you away. You think that wealth is going to, say, benefit you. You think you're going to get a better life, but then you end up with the same exact results, maybe the opposite, but again, you're going to end up with the same results of your life as, say, your mom and dad. Same with health issues, right? Your mom and dad didn't eat healthy and all that. You're going to eat healthy, but then you end up having the same patterns like many of you do. This is the reason why. There's nothing wrong with you. You're fantastic. But we need to get to the core level issue and completely eliminate that. This is where people eliminate addictions. This is how powerful it is. And then we'll call it the end, is that when people, say, release addictions through exponential intelligence, by the way, we are going to be doing an addiction series coming up. Even like heroin addictions, severe addictions, they don't have the withdrawal symptoms. They literally have no programming of, say, an addiction or heroin patterns. They literally remove themselves of that pattern. So that's how powerful it is. Whether it's smoking, addictions, chocolate, heart issues, cancers and all that. Again, I'm not saying I cure anybody. I'm not saying I heal anybody. But what I do best Okay, no matter where you're going, no matter what modality, Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, energy medicines, or anything like this. By the way, I'm not an energy healer or anything like that. It goes way beyond this. I edit your DNA, okay, your consciousness and your DNA. When you go beyond that, what I do is simply I help you awaken your natural ability, your natural healing ability, that genie deep within you that craves abundance. Again, your highest self that you could be. Okay? I help you awaken that. Once you start to awaken that, you'll get connected to a modality if you need it. Although there's a ton of people that will remove themselves from the diseases and so on magically, so to speak, but it's not magic, it's just science. They remove themselves of that. Or again, they use a modality, and this time, once and for all, it ends that pattern for them. Okay, so take a look at the contents on YouTube. If you go to Masajady, M-A-S, S-A-J-A-D-Y, or you can go to masajady.com. You can come to my booth. And you can schedule sessions with me, or you can find out more information about it. There's tons of free things that I do on again on YouTube, or on social media. So take a look at that. If it resonates with you, fantastic. If it doesn't, fantastic. I wish you all well. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.